Oh, hey, Rajni, how are you? Hang on, let me get my speakers up. Hey, Rajni, how are you? Yeah, I think you're on mute.
I thought I had the instruction to mute it, so I can mute.
You're doing good?
Yes, how are you?
Good finally to meet you. So
I know, me too, face to face.
yep, and this is the way it's going to be probably for a while now. So that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm in Houston. I think it's going to be like this.
No. And I do get a chance because we have 3 agents that are in Houston. So I do get a chance to come out there a couple of times a year.
Oh, okay.
And hopefully as we get more, I think it'll be good to kind of be able to get out there. Austin, we go to Austin every like 6 weeks, only because we have quite a few agents that are in Austin.
Okay.
Hey, Manas, thanks for joining. Shika, thank you. I'm going to put you guys on mute. Give me 1 minute, or actually, I was talking and I didn't realize it. Sorry, and I put everybody on mute. So I'm going to put myself on mute for a few minutes, but we'll wait on everybody to join here in a minute. On my side instead of yours, so you'll have to just kind of just use it. Try logging in. It might not let you, but just try see if it will let you log in. On it might still be under my account. That's the only thing. All right. And if it doesn't, let me know and I'll give you the iPad to join. Oh, let's see, where am I going? Let's see here. All right, we're going to give everybody a couple of more minutes. I see, hey, Deepak, thanks for joining. Shika, thank you. We got Minaz and Hanish. So thanks, guys, for joining. As you know, one of the requirements are that we gotta be able to see your face, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it. This way I can call on you if we need to. So definitely get your videos up so we can talk as we go along. Okay. Let's see here.
Can you
It is fortunate, Ketan, and I'm proud of my face, no matter how ugly it looks. But I'm driving right now, so we'll have to wait a little bit.
No, that's fine.
before I
No
expose it.
worries. No worries. And hey, Deepak, I see you joined as well, so thank you. Don't worry.
Yeah, so can
You're
you
good.
please excuse me today also? I will keep it off and like I will just be in the listening mode today.
Yeah, no worries. That's fine.
Thank you.
It's mainly just so that way we get that interaction. But you guys know it's not one of those things where you have to have it up. But you know what happens, Deepak, right? I'm going to call on you more often than anybody else because I can't see you. Right?
So today, that's what. Excuse me for that, please.
Yeah, bring it on. I will definitely be paying attention to the extent I can and answer.
No. So hey, Deepak, there's actually two Deepaks in case.
Oh, there are two. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a Deepak. We have a Deepak in Austin as well, and I think we have a Deepak. We have two Deepaks. Yeah, three Deepaks now. So,
Oh my God.
And yeah, it definitely makes it more challenging. Neither of us are showing our face, I guess. So you may have to figure out a way to call Deepak 1, Deepak 2, whatever title you want to give.
yeah, I'll have to do that now. Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, give us a minute here. I'm going to share my screen. So let's do this. Let me go ahead and get started here, guys. Sam, thanks for joining. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I saw the name Millen, and I'm like, okay, I know where that's coming from, but I couldn't remember where it was.
Yeah, sure. Sorry about that.
No worries. Let's see. Let me get back into. Let's see here. I'm gonna start from the. Can you guys see my screen? Number one. Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
Good. All right. So, all right. Let's start with. This is probably one of my favorite classes. Oh, what happened here? Hang on. All right, let's try that again. Okay, can you guys see it now? All right. So this is probably one of my favorite classes. It's the way I started real estate more than anything else is I came up with a game plan for myself. And this is something that I want you guys to do as well. And what I mean by a game plan, it is, one of the biggest challenges. See, a lot of the real estate companies, brokerages and whatnot teach you the basics of real estate, right? They teach you how to write a contract. They teach you how to, marketing. They teach you about your buyer rep agreement and your listing agreements, a lot about commissions, you know what I mean? So, that's all fine. But at the same time, you got to learn the practical side of this, right? And that's the most important thing. And that's one thing that we've been wanting to teach, whether it's, how to land your first listing. If you guys joined us for the first class of the Real Estate Marketing Bootcamp, day one, we actually go over the code of ethics and we go over, a lot of the things that makes a realtor, valuable in today's market, right? It's the characteristics of a good realtor. We've gone over contracts day 2, 3, and 4, believe it or not. I know Rachel did the agent branding class as well. One thing I know we had initially started and we were going to do 2 classes a week, and we realized that that's a lot to do. So now what we're going to do is we're actually making it a little bit different. We're going to be doing, we're going to do 1 class a week. We might inject the new agent orientation probably either next week or the week after. And then we'll continue on with, landing your first listing, the commercial side of this, just a lot of different classes. And we're going to expand it out to not just the 10 or 12 weeks that we had planned on, but we're going to try to do this continuously throughout the year. So, and the good thing about this is you're going to be able to join, whether you join this class, each one is always going to be between 30 to 45 minutes at the most an hour. only because I know my attention span goes away after an hour, and I don't know how yours is. But so, you know, we've learned that over the years, just keeping it within 30 to 45 minutes in length is actually a really good thing. So before we get started, I am going to ask, and let's see who we're going to ask today. Shika, you are my first person to ask this to. So tell me about how you would start your first communications. Let's say a client or slash a customer came to you and said, hey, Shika, I got your number. I'll be your customer, right? So let's pretend like Ketan just moved from California, and I got your name from your neighbor across the street that knows that you're doing real estate. So I'm going to say, hey, Shika, I just got your name and would like to know more about how I can get started in buying my first home here in Dallas. So Shika, why don't you take over and tell me what you would say, what you would do, and so forth. And remember, there's no right or wrong answers here. I'm going to just have you start for one piece of it, and then I'll go on to somebody else.
Okay. So Ketan, the first thing that I'm going to ask them is, are they working on the realtor? Are they working with any realtor, or they have already worked with anybody? And I just want to make sure that we are not clashing there.
Bingo. That is absolutely perfect. That's excellent. That is the first question you want to ask is, hey, great to meet you. And number one, just curious, have you reached out to any other realtors? What are we looking for? Have you blank an agreement? Have you signed an agreement, right? Because a lot of times what happens? So Hanish, what happens a lot of times is it, just tell me what you think happens in this case, right? Because I'll let you answer before I say anything.
Sure. Like you're saying, if they have signed any agreement with anybody, yeah, of course, sometime in today's market, people are shopping in also, lots of people they check with different realtors, and at the end of the day, they go to another one. We have seen lots of cases like that, but yeah, I personally try to avoid if even they have signed an agreement or not an agreement. If they were working with somebody, I try to avoid that. But yeah, like you said, if they have any agreement, the representation agreement with anybody, that's something, by representation. If they have a written agreement, that's like something that binds them to somebody, to avoid any problem going down the line.
And here's the interesting thing about this, right? And you guys haven't been in this situation yet, but you will be in the future, right? And that is your buyer, you're going to come back, and all of a sudden the realtor is going to call you and say, hey, I have this representation agreement with these buyers that we signed 4 months ago. You're going to go back to the buyer and say, hey, wait a minute, why didn't you tell me about this back then? And the biggest comment that you hear is, well, I didn't know what I signed. Is that true? How often does that happen? I mean, I do that I don't do it all the time, but how often is it that they're just signing for the sake of signing and not knowing what they're signing? It's two ends of the spectrum, right? You either sign everything and not worry about it, or you're one of those that, hey, wait a minute, what am I signing? What are you making me sign? And so forth.
Exactly. Sometimes they're putting, somebody's putting an offer, along with that offer is lots of documentation. If they're adding the buyer rep along with that, sometimes the buyer may ignore it and think it's just for that particular transaction, not for a binding factor. So that's where, everybody need to understand what they're signing.
Exactly. And you know what, that last sentence is perfect. That is exactly what you want to do, is you want to make sure that your buyers understand exactly what you're signing. All right, good. So the conversation. Right. Anybody else want to add to it, or we can go on to, all right, so let me reach out to, let's see here. Hey, Sam, I'm going to ask you. All right, so in this case, now that Shika and Hanish have pretty much started off the conversation with your buyers, and they've said, hey, at this point, whatchamacallit, have you signed the agreement? Have you met anybody, or have you talked to any of the realtors? What would be the next thing you would look for in this case?
Next thing would be, I would like to introduce myself and who I represent. And the main critical thing is giving information about brokerage service. So,
yeah. All right. Yes. Very good. So number 2 is going to be IABS, right? So you want to make sure that first one-on-one communication, you provide that IABS, correct? Very, very good. All right. Now, in today's world, obviously with COVID and the pandemic and everything else, things have changed a little bit. So how would you engage your clients in that first communications? Here's what I used to do, and I'll tell you what I used to do, so that kind of give you guys an idea of what happens. So the first day I met them, I would have like what I call a home buyer seminar. Okay. It was maybe 30 to 45 minutes, kind of like what we're doing today. And I would ask them, some questions, but more than that, I would teach them about real estate. I would put a piece of paper, pen and paper, and I would start writing down things, and there's 5 criteria that I always put on paper at first when I meet them. And I want to kind of go over those criteria with you guys. I want to see how much of that you guys understand. So I'm going to start with you on the first one. All right. So this is what we call the primary criterion. All right. I'll start you off with price. Okay. So in other words, we're talking about 5 criteria here. And these are probably some of the most important criteria when you are defining what you're looking for from your buyers. All right, so let's see. Deepak, Austin, I am going to ask you, give me one more criteria along with price. What is another one that we're looking for?
Sorry, Ketan. So basically regarding the price point, I think if I understand the question right, basically, first of all, what is the requirement actually?
So price is one criteria. Give me another criteria that I'm looking for.
Another criteria, location, schools.
Very good. Yep. No, stop there. You're right. Excellent. Location is another one. And I believe that's my second criteria. Very good. So you guys are on a roll. I am going to ask number 3. Let's see who just joined us. I saw somebody. Anita, welcome. You're my lucky number 3. So we've talked about, making sure, you ask the buyers. You ask the buyers if they're working with another realtor, if they've signed any representation agreements. You then provide them the IABS. Now we're talking about their criterias. Obviously we've talked about price. We've talked about location. What would be a third criteria we're looking for? Any ideas? Hey, Anita, you're not on mute. I can see that. You want to try it again? Go ahead. Or are you on volume? You want me to come back to you? Or you want to put it in chat? Oh, shoot. And I just gave it away. Okay. Number 3 is age. All right. Anita, I'll come back to you in a minute. Minaz, give me one more criteria that would be beneficial in your first discussion with your buyers. Minaz, are you there? Hello? Hey, Minaz, can you hear me? All right. And Rajni, let's try. I see you here. Are you able to see me or hear me?
Did you call me Ketan?
Yes, I did. So if you want to give me one criteria, I'm missing one more criteria here. What would that be? So we've talked about price, location, age. Yep. And there's one more that's very important. Any ideas?
Maybe location is the schools comes in there too.
Schools. So that's a good question. Schools actually does come in, but it's my secondary criteria, and I'll explain that in a minute. So what would be one more that we're looking for? How about anybody know?
Square footage.
The size of the house, basically what they need.
Size is number 4, right? So here's the thing, right? So when you're talking to your buyers the first time around, the criteria that I just put up here first, right? Price, location. Number 1, you have to know their budget more than anything else, right? You have to know, hey, are we talking about a $300,000 budget or a $500,000 budget? What's happened this year? What's happened, whether it's Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio? Look at what's happened over the course of 2021? Does anybody know? Tell me
Like-
what you think has happened this year.
Price has increased tremendously.
Exactly. So if you get a buyer that is, and I hate to say this, but is clueless, right? And they're still thinking of price points from 2020, and their budget is 350,000. Where's that budget today if they were looking at 350,000 a year ago, or maybe a year and a half ago, and they didn't do anything? Where's that budget today? Anybody know? Where would that be? You can't get anything for 350,000.
Yeah, it's 500 now.
Exactly, right? So that's where you as a realtor comes in and said, hey, by the way, I know your budget is 350. Ask them probing questions. Where did you come up with that budget? The other thing is now add to it the location, right? So if you get a buyer that says, yeah, you know what, I'm looking for 350,000 in Frisco or Plano. All right, what are the chances you're going to find something for him at 350,000? Probably. Oh, go ahead, Chika.
No, I said nothing.
Slim, right? Very, very slim to none, right? If you plug that information into the MLS, especially if you're talking about now, let's add to it the age, and let's say they want something from 0 to 10 years old, and they want something that's 2,500 square feet, right? So now we got 350,000 Frisco, less than 10 years old, and 2,500 square feet. When I plug that into the MLS, how many searchable listings am I going to find?
Zero.
Zero.
Yeah,
Zero,
that's true.
right? All right. So it is all about educating your buyers more than anything else, right? This is where you come in, and one of the best ways to do it is you start with your own community, right? Understand where your community is selling for, how much it's selling for, how quickly it's selling. All right. That's one of the most important things. Everyone has access to the MLS. Practice. Then turn around and be knowledgeable about the market, right? And what I mean by knowledgeable, Hanish, you hit it right there. 350 is now 500 today, right? So you have to understand that. Number two, you have to understand new homes. The minimum on a new home today is about 300,000, no matter where you look, especially for investors. You get a lot of investors, right? And if that's just in Dallas, if you're looking in Austin, minimum is what, Rakesh, 400,000 today, maybe 450,000 for brand new homes. What is it? I know you know the Austin market pretty well. So Rakesh, I'm going to call on you. What is my new home in Cedar Park or in Gerald or in anything north of Austin? What's my initial price point in that case?
So again, as you said, Ketan, depends on square footage, but the starting point will be somewhere around 430, 440.
Yep, exactly. The starting point would be 430. What was that starting point a year ago, Rakesh?
2 years ago, we could get as low as probably low 300s. Yep. Or 290s, 300s, 320.
75. Yep, exactly. And so Rakesh, that tells me that you understand the market, right? So Rajni, the same thing in Houston, right? If you look at Houston, what is the change in price over the past year? You've gone from and the best way to do it is take your own community, take the new homes in 2019, see what they sold for. Then take the same 2021 homes. Remember, you can filter this criteria by age anytime. All you got to do, if you're on the MLS, you go into, let's say, a zip code, or you go into a county, and then you pull up homes that are 2018 to 2019 that have sold back, between 365 and 720 days. That gives you that benchmark of 2 years ago, right? So now you know exactly where those homes sold for. Then turn around and do the same thing on homes that are built in 2020 and 2021. And at that point, now you're going to do 0 to 365, or you're going to do 0 to 180 to look up the last 6 months. And I bet you will see the fluctuation in price from, let's say, a normal 350 to today, it's about 500. What's interesting, I'll give you an example. I was just pulling up, I saw an email from Trophy Signature Club, Trophy Signature Homes here in Dallas. And These are homes that about a year ago, a year and a half ago, we were selling for 550 to 600,000. The starting price today is $850,000. You see the difference, 850. Last year or 2 years ago, 550,000 for the same houses. All right, so I'm gonna go on. So I'm missing one final criteria. And what is that? Anybody know? Anybody want to take a guess at what my number 5 is on here?
Prequal.
Prequal? No, that's important, very important actually. That's super, super important, and you're right. But I'm looking for the actual criteria when it comes to a home. Anyone else want to try it before I give it up? Anish? Or who else do we have? Shika, you want to give it a shot? Anyone? All right, I'll give it to you guys.
I'll tell you.
It's- Okay, so what I mean by this is, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it's all about price per square footage, right? It's all about, finding a home that, it's our culture, right? We want the best deal out there, right? But sometimes you got to understand that the best deal is not what you really should be looking for. Okay, and this is one thing that I have told my buyers over and over again. I'll give you a little story. I had a buyer about 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago now, young couple, both, one was a doctor, the other one was in IT. And they bought a 4,200 square foot home because it was in a nice location, but it was a great price, okay? And about 6 months to 8 months later, one of them called me and said, you know what? We haven't been upstairs in about 6 months. We don't use the upstairs at all. Can you go find us something smaller? You see where the importance of floor plan and just putting all of this together, how important it is. And this is where you guys have to come in and ask, okay, you guys are only 2 or you guys are only 4. What are you planning on doing? What's your long-term plans with the home? Are you planning on moving in the future or whatever? If they're planning on growing, not an issue. If mom and dad are going to move in with them in about 6 months, not an issue. But if it's a young couple or just any couple, right, that they're buying a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot home, yeah, you want to maybe, help them out there a little bit. And that's what that important piece is. The other important piece is no matter what the price, no matter where the location, you're going to live in that home, which means that you have to enjoy what you're living in. 80% of the time when you're at home, you are going to be inside the house, which means that that floor plan is essential to your happiness in the long term, right? If you don't like your floor plan from day one, then that's the wrong house, no matter how much you buy it for. All right, let's talk about secondary criteria, guys. Tell me, I know somebody mentioned schools earlier. So let's go into schools. Tell me about, I just gave it away, didn't I? Shoot, I gave the whole thing away, didn't I? Give me a minute. Oh, geez. This makes it a lot easier on you guys, I guess. Now you know exactly what I'm talking about. Hang on, let's get back to it. All right, so we talked about the primary criteria. Secondary criteria. Give me these. Let's talk, and instead of me asking you guys, let's talk about it. How about that? So Hanish, you just opened up, so I'm going to give you number 1 and number 2. Tell me more about yard and house orientation.
Sure. The lot size, basically, it's important for many people that what is the lot size that they get their backyard and all that. And definitely orientation, many of us like facing of the house, sometimes they care about it, north facing, northeast and all that, especially Indians, we do care about those things. So that where the orientation of the house comes in.
Exactly. And so, but you notice one thing, right? I didn't put it in my primary criteria, and I'll go over that in a minute, but it is part of my secondary criteria. All right, let's go to the next 2. HOA and school districts. Let's see who we're going to ask. Who have we not asked? Hey, Deepak Silwal, Deepak Dallas. Tell me more about HOAs and school districts. The importance of that as secondary.
Yeah, so school district is very important. Yeah, school district is really important, mostly because not just because of if the buyers have kids or not. It's more important even from reselling perspective, because the better the school district is, the faster the houses sell. And more importantly, if they don't want to sell and turn that into an investment property down the road, better school districts always have higher chance of being rented.
Yeah, because what percentage of population? No, exactly, that's correct. So now the question is, but you notice it's not part of my primary criteria, it's part of my secondary criteria. So let's ask Shika, why is it secondary and not primary?
Because your primary is, what if they don't have the kids, or your primary is the location, right? So,
Very good, yeah, because remember the primary criteria, which is location, price, size, and age, that qualifies every single customer out there, okay? However, school districts, house orientation, yard, what percentage of the house buying public actually needs schools, right? Because if you have an empty nester, or if you have a family if you have a millennial or someone that's Gen Z that's buying a home, are they really looking at school districts at this time, right? So it's not going to be something that everyone needs, right? Or if you have, two roommates buying a home, they don't need school districts at that point. But kind of what Deepak said, it does help in valuation and it does help in resale. All right, let's go to Alexa. Are you going to be able to talk? Or you want to come over here? You can talk. All right. So Alexa, tell me more about nearby amenities and number of bedrooms and bathrooms.
It's important because they may be moving like a certain amount of people in, then they need that certain number of bedroom or bathrooms.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys heard that, but yeah, depending on number of people that are moving in, they're going to have certain number of bedrooms or bathrooms, right? Another thing on the important side of the bedrooms and bathrooms, let's see if somebody can answer that. You know what? Who have I not asked? Sam. All right. Tell me another importance of bedroom/bathroom, the connection there that I'm looking for. I'm only looking for one thing, so you can tell me what that is. Any idea what I'm looking for?
Something like master down,
Yeah,
bedroom being down, or
actually, master bedroom down is one thing, but I'm actually looking for the next step beyond that. That's what I'm looking for. Any idea? So if you have somebody who's visiting, who's older, what are we looking for?
whether you have the second guest bedroom downstairs along with the full bath.
Exactly, right? So how often today, in today's market, you're going to get this all the time. You're going to get a buyer that says, you know what, I don't care if the house is 3,500 square feet. I don't care if the house is 4,500 square feet. However, I do have parents that are elderly and I do need a bedroom downstairs, right? And what's interesting about today's market is if you asked me 10 years ago, yeah, if you wanted a second bedroom downstairs, that meant you would have to have about 4,200 to 4,500 square feet in a home. Today, these floor plans, and it goes back to my first criteria, these floor plans are so dynamic that it's changed. Right now, you can have 2 bedrooms downstairs. You can have 2 or 3 bedrooms upstairs. You can have a game room and a media room all in 3,800 square feet with high ceilings, which you couldn't do 10 years ago. Make sense? All right, last one. Let's see, who did we not ask on before?
Hey, Ketan, question.
Yes, sir, go ahead, Rakesh.
So is that means the builders are adapting to Indian culture?
Yes and no. All right, so you know what? You actually bring up a good question. So I'm gonna ask another question out to everybody, and this might be, let's see if anybody can answer it, right? So what has changed in the last, I want you guys to think about 3, 4, 5, 6 things that have changed over the past 20 years in the functionality of the homes, okay? Does that make sense? I'll give you a hint. Okay. I'm not going to give you the answers to some of the more obvious ones, but I'll give you one that's been very different. Okay. Here in Texas, how often do we use a fireplace? Maybe once every 2 years or once every 3 years. What do you see more and more happening to these fireplaces? Anybody want to answer that? What do you see
They're going
happening?
away.
Huh?
Using for TV stand, or they going away?
They're going away. Exactly. They're going away. All right. So I just gave you one. Give me 3 to 4 or 5 other configurational functional changes in the floor plans of homes that have now made, it available to, that have now made adding a secondary bedroom with a bathroom, or adding, X and Y instead of having something else in the past. What am I looking for? Anybody know? Someone that's been around the Dallas market or the Houston market or the Austin market for a long time. Homes in the 80s and 90s. What did they have in them? Does anybody remember?
So Ketan, earlier to have second living room also, but now providing that.
No, you're right. So what am I looking for? That's exactly what I'm looking for. What were the 2 things that homes used to have in the 90s that they don't have anymore, which allows for the square footage to be shifted, right?
Formal dining.
Formal dining and formal living rooms, right? Right. And when you add a 250 square foot formal dining and a 250 square foot formal living room, how much square footage are we talking about that is now reused? What is it being reused for? Anybody know? It's 2 things. We've already talked about one, which is the bedroom bathroom. What is another one that's become very popular downstairs?
Medium.
Anybody know?
Medium.
Office study, office room study.
Very good. Yep. So guess what they did? They didn't increase the size of the homes. All they did was they just changed the functionality of the homes. That's all it is, right? They realized that nobody uses formal dining and formal living rooms anymore, because what do you have? Instead, you have these nice big kitchens with a nice bar area or a nice island, and underneath those islands you have those bar stools, so you can fit 3 or 4 people there, and then you have this huge a breakfast area that you can fit another 8 people there, and plus you have you have a family room. That's the configurations we're talking about. Those are the changes that have allowed us to really just reconfigure and say, hey, we don't need this size anymore. We have the configurable space that's available. All right, enough of that. Let's move on. So have we talked about updated kitchens, cosmetic enhancements? Have we, let's see, who did we not talk to? All right, I think we've talked to everybody today. Oh, Reggie, welcome to the group. So tell me a little bit more about the updated kitchen, cosmetic enhancements, community parks. These are secondary criteria that our buyers are looking for. Any thoughts on that? And I'm not sure if he's available to jump off of mute. All right. Anybody else? Let's see. Anita, you wanna take on that answer? Check your volume on your speakers, Anita. I think that might be it. Can you hear us? I know you can hear us, but we can't hear you.
Are you talking about like the style of the kitchen?
Yeah, style.
Like,
yeah.
In the early 2000s when Rolling was being built, they were doing all these wood cabinetry.
Yeah.
Now everybody likes white kitchen.
Yep. So what's happened, and that's actually a very good point. So Alexa said, it's the style of what's changed over the past few years. So actually, let's talk about that. So what has changed as far as kitchens goes and color schemes and stuff like that? Anybody want to take a answer to that? Shika, I saw you come off of me, so you know what? I'm going to ask you.
So now they are more like a quartz countertop that people are more into white or grayish, more neutral colors rather than the dark brown wood.
Well, so it's interesting you say neutral colors, because guess what? 5 years ago, the beiges and all that was considered neutral. What is now neutral, or what back then. And what's interesting is, the black and whites were in back in the early 80s, believe it or not. So it's a full circle a lot of times. But when you talk about neutral colors, you're right. The neutral colors 10 years ago were some of the beiges and the creams and stuff like that. With what was the popular cabinet colors? Does anybody remember what the popular cabinet color was just 10 years ago? The blank, which ones? Shika, go ahead.
Brown.
Yep. Very good. Browns. Remember the wood colored cabinets?
Yeah, the wood
all these
colors.
homes? Yep, the wood colors.
Yeah,
Now
I still have those.
it's changed now. It's the grays and the whites and the blues and all these other colors, right? So good. All right.
Yeah, of course. Like now everybody have packages, the kitchen
Yep.
like premium package and all that. And sometimes, yeah, it also matter like if it's a gas cooktop or electric. Many of people want gas cooktops also.
Correct. And so, yeah, and there's one, and you're right. So that's very important. Remember, so these are all secondary criteria you always want to ask about, saying, hey, what about gas cooktops? What about, so-and-so? Do you need a formal dining room? Because if you do, then, and don't forget that here's the important piece. If they really need that media room and it's 4 bedrooms or a 5-bedroom house and it's only 3 of them, then you can tell them, hey, you know what? It may not be a bad idea to convert that 5th bedroom that you have upstairs, which happens to be 13 by 13, to and the thing is, you don't need a huge media room. What do you need? You need a room with a TV, maybe a couple of couches, right? And you can do that with a medium-sized room rather than a large media room. Just think about the media room concept that's changed over the past 5 years. Anybody want to take a stab at that one? What has changed about media rooms that you remember 10 years ago compared to what it is today? Sam, you want to take that one? If you're familiar with our old media rooms, what did what did a media room look like 10 years ago? Do you remember? Or do you know?
Probably not. Now I think people are looking for a surround sound and big screen and drop-down screens and so forth. So
okay, so that's one thing. So here's what I remember when I used to sell houses about 15 years ago. I remember walking into a Dries or really a Dries home or a Shattuck home, and I kid you not, the room was 30 by 20. That's 600 square feet of a media room. How often are you going to use a 600 square foot media room? Maybe once a month if you're lucky, right? And then you have this 120-inch screen. Instead, nowadays, media rooms are what, 13 by 13, 13 by 15. You got one couch, one set of couches or a sectional and all the way in the back. And you have, instead of a screen, what do you have? You have an 80-inch TV or an 85-inch TV that's now replacing these big screens. That's the changes that you see, and you're going to continue seeing those changes because at the end of the day, not that nobody doesn't use it, everybody does use it if they have it and if they really enjoy it, but it's more about it's the functional value of the home that you're looking for. All right, last things to really just talk about this. Let's see how we're doing on timing. We are actually not bad today. We're doing really well on timing. All right, so here's the most important thing. Be honest and transparent in all your communications. Don't be afraid to tell them the truth, okay? We talked about this earlier. The buyer wants a $350,000 house that's 1 to 5 years old. Now, keep in mind, this slide presentation it's a year old, a year and a half, almost 2 years old. So that 350,000, even today at 400,000 or 450,000, and especially 1 to 5 years old, it's just not going to happen. All right. Instead, you're looking at about 500,000 in Frisco for 1 to 5 years just to start. All right. These 5 criteria that we created, right? And it's not really 5, it's 4 criteria. It's price, location, size, and age. These are the ones when you get ready to, when your next step with your customer is you're going to set up what we call a searchable link, right? You're going to plug it into your MLS. You're going to save it as a new auto email. And we're going to go over that in our new agent orientation, hopefully either next week or the week after. But you're going to click it. You're going to put that into your search criteria. You're going to plug it in. You're going to talk to your buyer and say, hey, just FYI, I only pulled up 5 houses, or I only pulled up 10 houses. Because remember, on the bottom of that left corner, you can see exactly how many houses you pull up. Don't forget to look at the houses so you can get a good feel for what you're showing them or what you're going to be showing them. All right. And then what you want to do is you create that search, create it as an auto email, right? Which then sends it to them immediately, not only the links of the homes that you have created, which is either 5 or 10 or 15, you got to send that to them separately, and then turn around and save that search. So that way going forward, they have those houses coming to them. And then your last conversation with your clients is going to be, hey, I'm going to send you this link. Take a look at it. It's going to send you homes that come on the market right away. All right. So if there's a house that they see, now they can pull it up on Zillow, they can pull it on Redfin and all these other places. But initially just, show them that, hey, here's the houses that are coming up. Call me or text me if you're interested in them, right? Or take this first list of 15 houses, narrow it down to 3. Okay. I try not to show more than 3 houses. I know just from experience and from my past history, I used to show 5, 6 houses at one time. And what used to happen is I would show them, house number 4 or number 5, and they were literally confused about what house number 1 or number 2 looked like. So I've learned over the years, like, you know what, I'm going to keep it to about 3 houses at the most, maybe 4. But if you're comfortable with showing them more homes, the first instance, it's perfectly okay as well. All right. What is a realistic criteria today? The criteria have become dynamic. They have changed and they continue to evolve. Okay. So remember that. And the only way you're going to understand that is being aware of what the market is doing. Okay. And that means, pulling up homes on the MLS, reading up on real estate articles, real estate news. When Fox 4 or ABC has a news segment on what's happening in your housing market, listen to it, watch it, and be aware of what's going on in the market. That's going to be the most important thing for you to educate your buyers at the end of the day. Okay, there you go, educate your buyers. And it's exactly, I see what you want, but I'm not going to be able to get that for you. So explain to them what you can and cannot do, right? And a lot of times what I used to do is once I had the session with them, the new home buyer seminar or whatever you want to call it, I would actually have them sit down with me and we would run the MLS criteria together. Okay. By doing that, what it does is they see exactly what you see, right? So at that point, and remember, a lot of times buyers are reserved. Their budget may be 600,000, but they're giving you 500 just because they don't want you to know that, oh, by the way, I can go up to 600,000. Tell them, be transparent, give me exactly what your criteria are. The one other thing that is important, I don't think we talked about it today, but always ask your buyers what their timelines are, okay? If they just signed a lease 2 months ago, that tells me that now they're really on the hook for another 10 months, maybe 8 months. You don't want to start showing them properties now, especially if they're not that they're not serious. I'm sure they are serious, but at the same time, you want to make sure that, hey, are we just going out there to go look at properties, or are you seriously looking at buying a property? Okay, so those are a couple of questions you want to do. The other thing is, if the inventory does not meet their criteria, ask them to adjust it. And that's what I was talking about just a few minutes ago, about when you do this on the MLS in front of them, they can see exactly how many houses are being pulled up. And from there, they can tell exactly, where they need to make the adjustment. Keep in mind that, the way the market is, it always shifts outwards for newer homes, meaning that, homes built, in 2015 are going to be in a certain location compared to homes that are built in 2021. Okay, especially for all communities out there. And the cost of land construction goes up the closer you get to the city centers. So, if they want to be in a certain location, they're going to have to pay the premium for that location. That's going to be extremely important to understand as well. All right. The final portion to this is the probing questions that you guys want to ask your customers, your clients, right? You don't necessarily have to ask them what they do or not, but say, hey, what do you guys do? Or is your job relevant to where you live? Or do you travel a lot? And if so, how often do you have to travel from the airport? Because that may be one of the reasons they're looking at Capel, or that may be a reason they're looking at Irving, But at the same time, if they're looking at Capel or Irving, hey, why not show them the Colony or the Frisco or Louisville? We talked about this, current timelines as far as leasing, how many months are remaining on their leases and stuff like that, whether they're empty nesters or if they have kids and family. And especially if they're empty nesters, they might be saying, hey, you know what, I only need 2 bedrooms or I only need 3 bedrooms. But if they are planning on entertaining every Thanksgiving, Christmas, and spring break, then they might need a little bit bigger of a home. The reason they're moving, right? Why are they buying or why are they selling their homes, right? And how long are they wanting to live in those homes, right? That's going to be important too, because number one, obviously you want to be their realtor the next time they sell and buy again. But more importantly, that kind of gives you a perspective of what kind of a home you should be looking for. All right, I know we've gone over the last couple of slides pretty fast. So I am going to open it up to everyone if you guys have any questions. All right, and hopefully this was helpful. I know we went over the last couple of slides pretty fast, just to keep within our timeline. So that was the only reason. But any questions, guys?
Hey, Ketan, yes, of course, you covered everything here, but there is one more aspects that, many of the clients in today's time are looking for. And what is the best way to present it that we talking about price point, actually, not the price point of the house, but, agent commission. So what is the best way to avoid any confusion later time? Sometimes people charge different for new house and different for the old house. Yeah. So what would be can we have it in written that this is this is this?
Yeah, no, that's a very,
so
very
we
good
be fair with everybody, and then they know, because sometimes they it happened to me one time that for the new house is separate and the old house is separate, and then they want to look at the old houses also, but end up buying the new one. So, and then they forget the conversation what we had.
happens all the time, right? Yeah, I know.
So what is the best way to avoid that?
All right, so the first, actually it's a really, really good question, Anish. So the first thing you want to do is, so I'll be honest, right? With a lot of my clients over the years, literally every one of them came through as a referral to me. So for me, it was I personally never did a buyer rep agreement, but if you ask me today, absolutely, I would encourage our agents to do a buyer rep agreement, and the only reason is because of the number of agents that are out there. The market's gotten very saturated.
I know.
And everybody's going to try to undercut everybody else. That's just the way it is. Two things that does make someone stand out, right, is the way, if you think about how we do things and how we've been doing things over the years, it's all about, we're not going to be your cheapest, least expensive brokerage. I know that, but at the same time, we're going to give you super value for it, right? Same thing you need to talk to your buyers about and saying, hey, look, I'm going to give you that value that you're looking for. When it came to showing houses, it didn't matter. I showed 10 houses, 50 houses, 100 houses. Guess what? If I, and obviously you guys know the history. I started rebates back in 1995.
At the end of the day, service matters. If they understand what the other person is giving you and what you are giving them, of course that would be the key. But
here's the other important piece to this: be consistent with what you do. Right. In other words, be transparent. Over the years, I went, when I first started in 1995, giving a rebate was more of just, hey, it's a thank you, it's a gift back to my buyers. That was all it was, right? Now it's changed to just.
Now they think they're right.
It's a whole different ballgame now, and I'm not a big. I'm not a big fan of it, but because I still do it, I have to do it because you know, it's something that we've started, but every year I keep changing I don't change it mid-year. I change it once a year if I do change something, right? So for example, on listings, you know, I have a set price. I keep that price for the whole year. If I lose a customer, I lose a customer. It's not a big deal. Same thing with, you know, my buyers. If it's an investor, I know exactly what my rebate's going to be. If it's a buyer, I know exactly where my rebate's going to be. If it's a new construction and if I don't have to do a lot of work, I know exactly where my rebate's going to be. You know, so have that, you know, and if you need to write it down, put it on a piece of paper, put it in your phone, you know, and that way you don't have to. Here's the best way to explain it is if you keep it consistent, if you keep it honest, you're going to be able to sleep at night because you know you're not giving. Now, I take it back. Once in a while, I might, you know, if it's, and, you know, like if there's a dire situation where somebody needs a little bit more assistance, I will give it to them. You know what I mean?
Right. That's the separate thing.
But here's the other opposite. If a doctor comes to me and asks for, you know, more money on the rebate side, I'll tell them, go find somebody else, you know,
right.
at that point, it's not the same thing. So hopefully that answers, I know it doesn't answer everything you're looking for, but
no, but yeah, definitely it helps. My only question is, can I write it down and send it to them like in a text message? This is this.
Oh, absolutely. But then
that's fine, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like to keep it consistent, and can I do it in writing? Like, you know, just even in the first conversation, so I don't like you know. Sometimes you say something and they understand something. When it's written, it's more like, you know, I send it to you. You see that.
No, and here's the best way to do it. Put it in the buyer rep agreement. Okay. So if you put it in the buyer rep agreement, now you're not that they're on the hook, but they are on the hook now for you for the next 6 months or 9 months or 3 months or whatever it is. But now you also have it in writing, right? So that's another way of doing it.
Yeah, buyer rep is, of course, and that's always there. Yeah.
Yep. It's a good question. It's a really good question, Anish.
Caitlin,
anyone else?
Caitlin, so I have been getting into the situation so many times. As Hanish said, we made it very clear and they understand, but then they went to buy the new house after looking at so many old pre-owned houses with us, right? And then when they go to the builder, themselves told them that they knows the agents and they give their references also who are giving them more commission. And I don't think that's on. And then at that time we're getting, so that's the sad part actually about.
It's unfortunate, and I agree completely. You know, I mean, if the builders didn't do that, it makes a lot of sense. You know, at the end of the day, the builders are not, you know, they're not enforced by anybody. Trek doesn't enforce them. They're builders councils that don't enforce them. They're almost like, you know, at a free for all. They can do really almost anything at that point. However, you know, ultimately it's going to be Trek that needs to come down and do something about it. You know, one thing is your relationship with your buyer needs to be, you know, and I get it. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've lost, you know, over the years, I don't do as much real estate anymore, but over the years I've lost, you know, there was a couple of buyers where, you know, I'd shown them maybe 10, 15, 20 houses. They turn around and say, hey, you know, I got this realtor that's going to give me a rebate. What do you do? You know, because there's no way I can match it, you know, and for my integrity, I'm not going to match it. So the great thing about it is I didn't lose. I've over the years, you know, after several thousand clients, I've probably lost at the most 5, maybe 10 deals, you know. So, and the reason is because most of them came to me as referrals. And then I service them as referrals. And even on new construction, you guys have seen me do it, right? I do a lot for my new construction buyers. I do the pre-close walkthrough. I do the closing walkthrough. I do a pre-drywall walkthrough, you know. So there's a lot of steps that you can provide, and you know, and that's one thing that you know the buyers are going to genuinely look for as well. Not every buyer out there is looking for the deal. You know, a lot of them are looking for service. They want that handholding, and especially if they're coming from out of town, especially if they're coming from out of state, you can tell them, hey, these are certain things I'm going to do for you that nobody else in the industry will do, and that is the truth. You know, that's how I do it. you know, and because of that, I continue to get builder leads, buyers, basically. All right. I know it's not the right answer, but it's the only answer I know I can provide right now. So
Yeah, it is awesome. Yeah, that's good
right.
information. So yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys, you know what, one of these days I will do a, now that we're doing this once a week, I will do a, the steps that I take for my new construction buyers. I think that will help you guys a lot.
Yes.
I will, you know what, I mean, I think that way you can tell them it's in our back agent. It used to in our Dropbox folder, the steps we used to take. But what I'll do is I'll try to see if I can schedule something for that, maybe in January, February, when we get a chance. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right, guys. I know we're coming up on the hour. Any
Ketan,
other questions? The
yeah.
rebates.
No, it's not a question, Ketan, just something. Is there any way we can get with the group, if people can share on any of the newer construction that they're available, if there's something coming up, so that we can, other people can also take benefit out of that, if there's any phase coming up and all that, so that we can take advantage in our brokerage itself?
Yeah, you know what? I try to send out as much as I can. One place you do want to look is newhomesource.com. Okay.
The pre-selling is not going to be there, Ketan, because
the pre-selling. Okay. So
by the time we come to know, it's
yeah.
already full.
Yeah. Let me, you know what? Let me do this. I'll reach out to Ram, see if he can get something together. And because he might have a little bit more of where the pre-sales are going to happen.
Right. And if your Ram has any relationship with the builders, and if we have any teams that's interested in that list or want to be there, if we can get little help there, that would be great help.
Yeah, let me reach out to him and let's get that going. I'll try to get that going again. Check out. I think that's a good point. All right, guys. Are we good? Anything else?
So a couple of my clients are also asking the new construction, the sales agent names. Like, is there any database or anything we have? For example, Megatel. So in the Frisco area, they're asking agent names. I mean, like the salesperson. Do we have any kind of a database where I can go and check it out?
You lost me. So say that one more time, Suresh.
Yeah. So guys, clients are asking the sales agents for Mel and Toll Brothers, everything. So is there any list we can find it out? These are the agents, sales agents, so that they can call them and reach them.
You're talking about the sales reps that are there.
Exactly. Sales rep. Yes.
You know what? Yeah. So that's another Ram question. I will ask Ram to see if he can produce a list of our sales reps that he has contacts with. Okay. So
okay. Yeah,
let me do that. I will ask Ram for that and the list of the pre-sale communities. I'll do that after this call.
Okay. Thanks.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah. No worries. I'll ask that. I think that's a really good point. All right. And actually, what we might do is I may just have him do the next call, the next week's call or the week after, kind of go over some of that stuff. Okay. All right, guys. Anything else?
Sounds good. Thank you, Ketan.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Thank you, Ketan.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, man. Bye. Bye.